The Kenyan judiciary's latest chapter was opened in 2010 after the promulgation of the new constitution, reconfiguring and reaffirming the place of the judiciary in our national life as one of the three co-equal arms of government. As Kenya marks its 50th anniversary as a free nation, it is worth taking a deep and wide look at how our judicial system has evolved. This is the judiciary. A journey through time. We take you down memory lane, traversing across key historical timelines that define the history of the Kenyan judiciary. From traditional justice systems which existed during the pre-colonial era, into the colonial legal heritage introduced by Kenya's colonial masters, through the post-independence period, and to the judiciary today. The traditional legal heritage existed before the establishment of colonial rule at the end of the 19th century. Kenyan communities had a clearly defined justice system which was different with each ethnic group. Commonly, justice was administered through negotiated terms between the accused and the accuser in the presence of the Council of Elders. That was justice as we knew it, before the dawn of colonialism that introduced a different kind of judicial system under the East African Order. The first court with jurisdiction over all persons in the territory was established in 1897 under the initial title of Her Majesty's Court of East Africa. In 1902, it was renamed the High Court of East Africa. The courts were principally established to serve the interest of the settlers, and as long as law and order prevailed, the administration was happy with justice through the traditional justice organs for the African population. The administration of justice to the non-Africans involved the application of the relevant English and Indian laws. The courts were established and entrusted to expatriate judges and magistrates and headed by the Chief Justice.
In the colonial days, as far as you are concerned, the most important case was the Kapenguria trials. And those Kapenguria trials related to the Mau Mau War. It was a rigged trial. That's what people remember most about. Because the judge, Thaka, was brought from retirement, virtually with some instructions to find people guilty.
The divided and racial justice system was practiced in Kenya until 1963, when Kenya attained independence from Britain. The previously predominantly European judiciary workforce had embraced a handful pioneer group of African lawyers who included Agwing Skothek, the first African to establish a private legal firm in 1956, Charles Njonjo and Jean-Marie Seroni, who were government lawyers. Others at the time of independence were Henry Warethi, S.M. Otieno, Moga Wayaki, and Samuel Kivuitu. Through the early post-independence period, there had been enactment of laws that were proposed to either further strategic political gains, while others were to destabilize political foes. The removal of judges' security of tenure echoed a pattern of a ruthless crackdown by the KANU regime, using the security apparatus and the courts to jail reformists like the current Chief Justice Willy Mutunga and others who were perceived as dissidents associated with the December 12th movement, the 1982 coup attempt against President Moi's government, and the subsequent infamous Mwakenya crackdown and court trials of 1987 and beyond. Justice was indeed amorphous due to the unstructured appointment of judges and the Chief Justice, which was then a preserve of the president.
In reality, to be appointed a judge by the president, prior now to the 2010 constitution, you needed to know somebody in the corridors of power.
Before the current constitution, justice had come a long way with its fair share of twists, turns, wits, ingenious, and even notorious. All 21 Chief Justices Kenya has had since the colonial times to date, Justice Arthur Dennis Ferrell is on record as the shortest-serving CJ in history, having served for only 3 months. He was bundled out of office for reducing the sentence of freedom fighter Bildad Kagia by 6 months from 1 year against the then reigning political power's interests. Out with Ferrell, in came Kitili Mwendwa, appointed in 1968. He was the first African and native Kenyan Chief Justice, the youngest of them all. After 3 years in office, he left under a cloud of suspicion following a military plot to overthrow the government of Kenya's founding president, Jomo Kenyatta.
When Kenyatta left, I think there have been more cases that stand out when Moi was there, partly because he was there for so long. You have then the rise of what I like calling the Fimbo ideology, and the judiciary becoming part of that Fimbo ideology. And one judge is supposedly on record having said that the judiciary does not operate in a political vacuum.
In 1986, Cecil Henry Ethelwood Miller was appointed and served until 1989. Miller was instrumental in the Africanization of Kenya's judiciary. Among the notable cases Cecil Miller handled was one on the controversial burial dispute of the prominent criminal lawyer S.M. Otieno. Miller ruled in favor of Luo customs and traditions, stating that SM's wife, Wambui Otieno, had no right to bury her husband. In 1994, the now retired Justice Majid Kokar was appointed as Chief Justice, having served in the judiciary for 33 years.
Well, when I became Chief Justice, corruption was rife. There were judges, particularly in Mombasa. I wanted to bring a corrupt judge here. And that's why I tried to combat corruption.
Johnson Evans Gesheru, the longest-serving Kenyan Chief Justice, served for 7 years at a time when a new constitution was in the pipeline. The judiciary today is a revamped institution that has truly earned its position as a third arm of government.
The two major innovations is, first, the recomposition of the Judicial Service Commission, and 2, giving financial autonomy to the judges. And those are very profound developments.
Chief Justice Dr. Willie Mutunga took up office after a rigorous public vetting process and not through a unilateral presidential appointment.
The office of the Chief Justice is not a transmission station for instructions from any quarter.
All judges have also gone through a vetting or public interview. The establishment of the Supreme Court as the pinnacle of the hierarchical judicial order is a key product of the 2010 Constitution.
The new judiciary is becoming more open, accessible, modern, efficient, and effective.
Willie Mutunga, the first Chief Justice under the present constitutional order. Through a judicial transformation framework JTF that is in line with the Constitution, dynamic structural and institutional reforms continue to take shape.
We want to transform to be a judiciary that not only truly implement the Constitution in terms of its moral vision, in terms of social justice, but we want to transform to be an institution that delivers justice to all expeditiously, fairly, and irrespective of status, gender, nationality, any of the isms that exist in the society. We want to be the judiciary that is a true arbiter of justice, of disputes in the society. But at the same time, we also want to be a judiciary that develops jurisprudence and that becomes the true engine of societal transformation.
The modernization of the judicial infrastructure has also given the judicial image a facelift, from the old and dilapidated courtrooms to a refurbished, new-age, digitally survey courthouses, complete with a more public responsive approach in the delivery of service. The judiciary workforce has been taken through training by the Judiciary Transformation Secretariat to build capacity to meet the demands of change. Another clear break from the past is the opening up of the courts to live media coverage of proceedings during cases of high public importance, boosting the judiciary's accountability and transparency in the public eye.
The fact of the matter is that the judiciary has traditionally been viewed as an insular, esoteric institution. That is why the new leadership of the judiciary went ahead to entrench public engagement, stakeholder engagement, in Pillar 1 of the Judiciary Transformation Framework. We are indeed, in the judiciary, living that commitment.
Indeed, in the past 50 years of Kenya's independence and 116 years of the judiciary's existence, the country's judicial history has attained major milestones, key among them improved access to justice and overall service delivery, significantly boosting public confidence in the transformed and independent judiciary. That is the judiciary, a journey through time, a glimpse into the evolution of the Kenyan judiciary over a century.